Thank you for joining us today. Today I'm joined with Mr. Stephen Tsai, the 2020 Hawaii Sportswriter of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a great honor and really humbled and appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. We've gotten to chat over the just a little bit before our meeting, but my first question I want to ask is what made you decide I want to go into sports as a career path?
Well, when I was younger, I was born in New York, so I used to love the Mets and the Jets and anything to rhyme with Ets and all the Knicks. But I just really had that great love for it. And as you can kind of see, I have a face made for radio and a voice made for newspapers. And I always like to write. And I didn't think it was going to happen this way, but um, I just sort of found that path, at the University of Hawaii, where I was. We moved to Hawaii when I was a kid, and then after my father died. So it was just one of those things that I had a passion for it, and I never thought I could do it. But there's just some openings, and one opening led to another, and then found myself on the job. So I've been with the newspaper for 40 years.
That's amazing. Excuse me. So, working in Hawaii, obviously, it's a long flight to California. And when you travel, like, is it kind of stressful because you know it's going to be a long flight regardless of where you go? If you ever have to travel for, like, say, something going on in like a different state, have you ever had to travel? And if you have, is it stressful sometimes because it's such a long flight?
Yeah, so I travel all the time with the University of Hawaii football team. I think they did more traveling than anybody in the country. And yeah, but they've been some games where we played at Army, Navy. We're in Maryland for a while, and just got to just go with it. And just the simple fact that they play, say in other sports, they play in Mountain West and football, and the Big West and basketball and some of the other sports. And their nearest competitor is 2,500 miles away. So that's sort of like the distance between maybe San Francisco and Boston. So every flight is just a huge, big flight and everything. And it's it's great. I mean, it's just one of those things you just kind of have to get used to the flights. And I like to do the red eyes, so I try to be not too groggy during the whole day when I'm landing there. But yeah, it's fun. But it's getting to do something I love. And the head coach at Hawaii. Todd Graham says, you never have to work if you're doing something you love every day. And I love what I do. Love the
That
report.
couldn't be more true words have never been spoken. I've been hearing that my whole life. And that's amazing because I've always wondered that. Because when I was working with the sports team, Mount St. Mary's,
Mhm,
when we go on the road, sometimes if it's on bus or if we had to fly, we rarely flew. We did a lot of bus trips,
mhm,
but it's a good time to get work done. You have all this time, whether if it's a long bus ride, you get
mhm.
time to maybe analyze film. Sometimes you have to do homework. So that must be a kind of a plus side is you can get stuff done because your phone's in airplane mode. You really can't do much. I mean, most planes have Wi-Fi, but it gives you an opportunity to get work done. And I feel like that's benefit for sports writers because it's like, okay, I can just focus right now because I got a 6 hour flight and I have 6 hours just to knock something out.
Yeah, it's great. And you're right. And the best thing about it is just the solitude and sort of like time freezes. And in sports journalism, it's rarely that you just have time to just pause and just focus on, things to help your craft. And I think you're right. Long flights, travel, things like that, being on the road, it helps a lot.
Absolutely. Now, my next question is, what in your journalism career, what memory do you remember the most? Meaning, what memory was so special to you? Was it maybe like your first post you've ever written, first article, excuse me, or was it maybe a road trip you went on? Like, what was like your favorite experience, and like how did it shape you into the sports writer you are today?
Well, one of my I guess fortunate memories is that I had a coworker, Ferd Lewis, and he was supposed to be covering this basketball game, but he couldn't make it because his wife was due to give birth, so he was taking Lamaze classes with her, and it conflicted with the game. So he went to Lamaze class, so they sent me to the game, and that game happened to be Chaminade upsetting Virginia in number one Virginia, which is probably one of the greatest upsets in college basketball. So. Um, was just incredible fortune just to be there. And there are a bunch of there's a bowl called the Aloha Bowl at that time, and a bunch of the Maryland was playing it. So a bunch of guys from the Washington Post were there, so they were able to kind of experience, sort of making a big time feel for a game that probably was just a midweek game and wasn't going to be that impressive. And everyone thought Virginia was going to romp, but it was huge. And I think Michael Wilbon was one of the writers who were there at the time, and so it was just kind of just fortunate to be at a place where I probably shouldn't have been, and just be part of history.
That's awesome. I guess my another question I want to ask is, I know I mentioned this when before we started. I don't think I mentioned this, but what is it like for you when you go to a game? Like, how is it like your day start? Like, do you have a game day routine? Do you have like, what's the word I'm looking for? Something like, what's your like your routine? And like when the game starts, like, do you try to just take as much notes as possible? Like, how does that work for you? Like, what is like your go-to move during a game?
Well, a lot of it is preparation with football. For University of Hawaii football in the past, they used to give me what they call the all 22 videos. So I'd actually get to see the whole entire field and all 22 players on it and the run play. So I'd study a lot of those, and then I'd study a lot of videos of upcoming teams. Whether it's just DVRing some of their games or everything. But I'll try to get a lot of information on teams before I go into it, and then. And then just during that day, the main thing is I try to be focused and try to get some sleep before, and also just to be calm about it. When I first started, I used to get incredible stage fright. For some reason, I'm thinking, oh, every high school girlfriend or somebody's going to be reading my story. And I think like back in, I guess, when you're in high school and the English teacher wants to read your paper out loud, there's a horror. I just felt that was amplified just by writing for a newspaper. And so I remember I was covering a game once, and there's this old veteran next to me, and he kept saying, he kept drinking coffee, and I go, I'd love it to be one day where I can be so calm and everything that I can drink coffee during a game. And then I think that was one of my achievements finally when I just felt confident enough and calm enough where I could just cover anything. That's the main thing. The other thing too, like I try to do is I take a lot of notes. I take a lot of for every game, I have detailed stats and types of things I try to do, but I never try to pre-plan what I'm going to say, not even through the game. I want the game to end, and then a lot of times talk to people before I actually start to form my story. And I think that's just the best way to go, because if you go in with a pre-planned idea of how you want to write something, well, sports has just so much drama and everything that the narrative could change. So I just like to wait it out, sort of analyze it, and then write the story. And the other thing too that I also like to do is I think newspapers in the old days used to be very straight and just a lot of play-by-play and everything. And I try to minimize the play-by-play. I think it's more important that if you're competing against TV or other outlets, that you want to get more descriptive, you want to get more analysis into it. And I think that's more of what the readers want, especially since they're reading your stuff. Even if it's online, you're still reading it a little bit later than if it's on TV or other mediums.
That sounds great. Sounds like just let the game speak to you. Don't just let the game play out, and let the game do its um you know let the game do its thing, and then that's how you get the information. Because I've been hearing from people like, have more notes in case something happens and you're on the spot. Have as much notes as possible, and that's one of the things I've been learning a lot throughout my internship with the NSMA is having so much notes, because you want to be prepared as possible.
Right. And you also want to let the people who play the game tell their stories too. And so just interviewing them, just being around, just having that feel that, it's their story, and let them be the ones actually who can narrate it with their play and their words.
Very true. My last question for you is, when you got out of college and were looking to be a sports writer, what was your advice that you would give that maybe you didn't do, or something that really helped you in the sports journalism field?
Well, one of the things is they always tell you if you're in college to go write for your student newspaper or whatever it is, student magazine, student radio station, but you have to be involved in the field you want to go into. And back then, I'm so old, we're coming out of Watergate, and everybody was sort of wanted to be the investigative reporter and things like that. And people used to frown on sports departments. And even when I first started at the Honolulu Star Advertiser, and then eventually became the Honolulu Star Advertiser, they used to always call sports the toy department. And people never really took it seriously. But it's more than that. You know, you actually get the best stories, the best, you know, there are serious stories, there are business stories, there are a lot of different things with it. But the main thing with it is stick to what you want to do. And again, it goes back to if you do something you love, you know, it's not work. And you have to have this passion for something. You can't just count on getting the paycheck. You need to do things during the weeks or the days that get you to the paycheck, you know, things that define your enjoyment. And, you know, if you have a passion for sports writing or sportscasting or something, that's the thing I would advise is just do what you love to do, and take the courses that, you know, you need to take. And you know, in journalism, I think it's also good if you're studying things, just to take as many different classes as you can. Just you don't have to just stick to English or journalism or other types of things. Just spread out, you know, and learn. And that's part of writing. If you can get more experiences, you can get the better writer or, you know, broadcaster you can be.
Gotcha. Well, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to interview you. I really enjoyed this learning about your career path and the advice you've given, and it really means a lot. And I really can't thank you enough for allowing me to interview you.
Well, and I thank you for because I think you're going to be an outstanding. You probably are an outstanding journalist, but I think you're going to be a tremendous person because I just love your style, and you know, you show a lot of great empathy when you speak and everything, and talk to people, and I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking time from your really busy schedule to take time for me.
You're very welcome. And thank you, everyone, for listening and watching.